Back in October of 2021, there were these two movies released in Japan for the same story with the claim that they could be watched in either order to change your perspective on the story depending on which film you watched first. Arriving in Crunchyroll in 2023, I finally got my chance to watch them with a friend, and I'm here to advise those of you who are interested in watching these films of the proper watch order and why. But before we get too comfy, I will ask that if you enjoy these videos, that you leave a like and subscribe to show your support and leave a comment on anything that comes to mind pertaining to this video. Now that the formalities are out of the way, let's parallel shift ourselves onward to the discussion of the films To Every You I've Loved Before and To Me, the One Who Loved You, which can be badly summarized with man with one wife cheats on his wife with his other wife. The source material for these films are a pair of sci-fi romance novels that can also be read in either order, which I believe might be a better format to consume this material. When adapting these to film, two different production studios with different directors were tasked with this project. The character design, script, and music were all credited towards the same respective people for both films, so there's still a lot of consistency. And I would like to take a moment to shout out the composer Takashi Omama, who has done an incredible job here, as well as with Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, which is currently airing and I will be discussing in the spring season review. The discrepancy with these films definitely comes from the directors and the way that they delivered their message to the audience. Both directors don't have any major projects under their belts, with Jun Matsumoto directing To You with Studio Back in Record, and Kenichi Kasai, who directed To Me, who has the backing of Studio TMS. I went into these films blind as I was excited to experience this with the decision being 100% chosen on my own accord, and knowing this information probably would have greatly swayed me in picking one film over the other. Comparing the previous works of these studios, on one hand we have Back in Record with a total of 6 works, none of which I've heard of before, versus TMS, who has a total of 385. Yikes. TMS has also created anime that I and many others have greatly enjoyed, including, but not limited to, Fruits Basket, Dr. Stone, and Megalobox, and I guess to a lesser extent Rent-A-Girlfriend, as well as the works that I haven't seen, such as Detective Conan, Lupin III, Don't Bully Me Nagatoro, Baki, and Real Life. So as you can see, there's a very large difference in experience between the studios, with To Me's having a better track record combined with the marketing material for these films that subvertly directs the Japanese audience to watch To Me first. The marketing has To Me on the right half of the ads, where the heroes are usually placed since Japan reads right to left, and you'll notice the same pattern with American media, where the heroes are always going to be on the left side. And knowing that little bit of information is why I chose to watch To You first. And the experience that I got wasn't bad, but I would say it was unoptimized. And I'll explain my reasoning with a shallow dive into this overarching story's plot, and it will be spoiler free. But if you want to do a blind run like I did, just please watch To Me first, and then come back to finish this and hear out someone who took the dark timeline. Both of these stories have the same narrative and setting, the setting being a world where interdimensional travel is normal and can happen every day. When I say interdimensional travel, which they call a parallel shift, it refers to a universe where you made a different decision. In a parallel universe, I watched To Me first and made a different video about my experience, which I think is part of the charm of this work. The major decision in this work around our protagonist is about which parent he chose to live with in the divorce, leading to the person he falls in love with. If you want the best version of this romance story, you must watch To Me first in order to really see the impact the love interest of that timeline has on the whole narrative. In To You, she is a side character that the whole story still revolves around, and the better romance option for our protagonist in my opinion. That being said, the whole premise of this work is to show that no matter what timeline you're in, the person who loves you will always love you in some capacity because it is a sort of universal law. Another point scored for To Me is that when they are explaining the sort of interdimensional travel in the beginning, they do it to children, so the audience, by proxy, also has an easier time grasping the concept. While To You did it in quite a confusing exposition dump, almost like they partially assumed the audience already understood the concept. I will say though, my favorite part of the high-level science talk they had in the movie was when our protagonist had a Jimmy Neutron brain blast moment after watching the bubbles in a glass of Guinness. I, for one, am all for alcohol ads being placed into my anime. The ending of the films reconvene and share the same dimension where one movie has impacted the other in some capacity, and it was interesting how watching them side by side as I was recording, the way they overlapped also had a deep connection with the other. For example, during the credits for To Me, Shion by Saucy Dog, which I've been listening to on repeat since I watched this film, there was an interaction in To You that was working on making the credits a reality. I'm not sure if this was intentional, but I thought it happened too many times to be a coincidence. When it came to rating these films, I gave To You a 6 and To Me a 7, but if I watched them in reverse order, they probably would have been higher, and the work overall I can rate an 8, which would make this work greater than the sum of its parts. It was a unique experience, and I would recommend it for anybody who has the time and patience to sit down and watch 3 hours worth of this film. Well, that's gonna be it for this video. Do these movies sound interesting to you? If you've already seen them, which order did you watch them in? Let me know in the comments, and might I suggest my last anime film video over Makoto Shinkai Suzume while you wait for my next upload, which will be the best anime from spring 2023, and spoiler alert, they all are.